I'm in London and my birthday was a few days ago, so let's go book shopping together. I'm now back home, and if I counted correctly, I have 17 books to show you. So let's start. During my trip, I only did a few shops in London, but I was in London for 5 days, and I also went to Bath for 3-4 days. So yeah, I just did the video during one day, not like the big video I did in the summer when I went to a lot of bookshops. This time I just wanted to do a few bookshops and just show you and buy books during other times when I wasn't filming. So I have one stack of books I've shown in the video and a stack of books I didn't show. So let's start. And let's start with 2 books I've already read. One I had read before going to the trip, going to the trip, and the second one I read during the trip. And the first one is The Second Death of Luck by V.L. Bovallino. I've mentioned this book quite a few times. It wasn't a favorite for me, but I keep thinking about this book, about this story, and I was like, I should just buy the book. So I'm quite happy to have it on my shelves. I love the cover so much. So yeah, Second Death of Luck. And the second book I've read during my trip is Rings of Fate by Melissa de la Cruz, with the pretty sprayed edges. To be honest, I don't think I'd heard about this book before going to the trip. And I enjoyed it. I probably will do like a review of the books I bought in London. So this book is about Aren. She's a barmaid, and also I don't know how you pronounce this. It's Dietan, Dieten. And he's a prince, and he's looking for his bride from another kingdom because he has like stakes to be the heir of 2 kingdoms and just make an alliance. He could be king of the 2 kingdoms. So he doesn't need to marry a princess, he just needs to marry somebody from the kingdom. And so Aren is a barmaid, and she has looked for her sister almost all her life because her mother died when she was very young, and her father is quite sick also. And so she doesn't really have a life besides taking care of her sisters and being a barmaid. So when the prince come into her town, she like makes dresses for her sisters. She doesn't even present herself as somebody he could consider, but he's quite intrigued by Aren. And also there's a plot in the fact that the prince has like rings, as the ring of fate inside him. They were supposed to be like outside of him, but when he was younger he touched them, and it's like they appeared on his back, and now he has this magic. But his kingdom needs the magic of the rings because a war is brewing, and his father, who's still alive, who's the king of the kingdom, needs the power, so he wants to take the rings out of him. So it's kind of like quest story or like a traveling story, because Aren agrees to come with him, be like his fake fiancé, and to go to try to take the rings out of him. It's part of a trilogy, but I'm not sure that the rest of the books will follow other characters. This book only came out a few weeks ago, so there's not any news of the second book, but the story arc of the 2 characters kind of ended, so I'm interested to see how the trilogy will continue. But yeah, we'll recommend this one. Like I said, we'll do probably a better review later in another video. So now, the books I haven't read. No particular order. I have The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. Like you can see, half price. I think this one, I tried to read it on my tablet like a few months ago, and I don't know why I didn't like it, but sometimes when it's like big fantasy, I much prefer reading them physically, and my focus is much better when I read physically than with my tablet. So that's why I wanted to buy it, and again, if I don't like it, just can sell it on Vinted for the same price I bought it, so it's not a problem. And in this book, the emperor, or wants to like retire. So now people will compete to go on the throne, but at some point one of the person in the competition dies, and so it's now the task of Nima to investigate. But if she succeeds to see who killed the competitor, she will be on the throne. So it's quite a dangerous task for her because she could also die. And apparently, if she dies, she will also set in motion a sequence of events that could doom the Empire. So yeah, the Raven Scholar. Scholar? Another one, half price, is Thorn Season by Kira Azar. Again, up the sprayed edges. Nothing particular on the beneath the dust jacket. So I think this one is like YA or upper YA. And apparently the author was in Shadow and Bone. I didn't see the show, but if you recognize... oh, you don't see anything. If you recognize this person, apparently she was in Shadow and Bone. I read the books, but I never watched the show because that's not my thing to watch movies or TV shows. So in this book, you follow Alyssa. She just turned 18, and it's like the year she has to debut her season in like the nobility and find a husband. But the thing is, in her kingdom, people with magic called wielders, they can materialize their powers outside of their body, but the wielders are being executed. But the thing is, Alyssa is also a wielder, and so she knows that she survived until her 18th birthday because she was quite smart, and also she could be quite sheltered. But now because she has to debut in her season, it will be quite dangerous for her to be alive. So we follow her during her season, and I think it's gonna be a love triangle, so we will see about that. The next book I have is Fallen Gods by Rachel van Dijken. So in this one you follow Rhea, and she's the daughter of Odin, like the gods. And people think that the gods have died, but actually they're just trapped into mortal bodies, and they're just waiting for like a spark to liberate them. And to try to achieve that, Odin sends Rhea to a university to try to find Mjolnir, the hammer of legends. And if she fails, everybody she loves will die, so it's quite high stakes. And at some point during her quest in the university to find the hammer, she falls for the enemy's hair, which she shouldn't do. So it's gonna be, I don't know if it's gonna be like for the forbidden romance, but I'm quite excited to read this one. And it's, as you could have guessed, with Odin and the Mjolnir, it's like Norse-inspired, a Norse-inspired story, so excited to read this one. And the last hardback of the books I've showed you, I've never heard of this book before, and it's The Secret Space Between by Callie Reid. So in this book you follow Jude, who's a saint, but he has been banished to an abbey because he has dangerous powers. But at some point an iconographer called Maeve is sent to the abbey to paint him, but Jude thinks that Maeve is a spy, so he tries to get rid of her. But then he also finds out that she has the same type of powers that he has. And from what I've gathered, like on Goodreads and the reviews, even though Jude is like a saint, he is against religion, and they will discover a lot of secrets with the abbey and the religion in this book. So I'm quite excited to read this one. And like I said, never heard of this book, so quite a good find, I think. Then I have a book from an author who wrote like fantasy and romantasy stories, and now she has written a contemporary story, and it's The Odds of You by Kate Ramis. She wrote the Curse of Saints trilogy. I tried to read it, I didn't like it. And in this one you follow Sage, and at some point in her life she was a data analyst, but then she decided to pursue her dream and become a writer, and now she has become a best-selling author. And on her way to Comic-Con she's seated next to a man. And this man is a new and upcoming actor that everybody loves, and when they are caught by the paparazzi, everybody thinks that she's his girlfriend, which is not the case. And so a lot of the fans of the actor, his name is Theo, so a lot of Theo's fans come after Sage, and so she tries to get away from all of that. And to do that, she goes to the Isle of Skye, which is in Scotland, and she comes face to face with Theo there. She wasn't expecting to meet him, and so like it's like two worlds colliding, and it's gonna be their romance. And I think it could be quite interesting because, like, when I read the first half of the synopsis when I was in the store, I was like, oh, is it gonna be like a fake dating romance? Like, people think she's his girlfriend, so now they are gonna be fake boyfriend and girlfriends. That's not the case, so I was quite excited to read that, because you might know I hate fake dating. But yeah, excited to read this one. And these are all the spread edges. Then I have Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen. I know this one is kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling with White Shoes romance. And like, I don't think it's Omega-verse, but I know there's like fated mates. That's all I know. A spicy Beauty and the Beast retelling filled with enchanted fae, morally grey characters, a sinfully hot villain, and a princess who has found her Prince Charming, all four of them. To be honest, like, fairy tale retellings are not really my things. I wasn't raised with like Disney movies, and I don't think I ever watched one like full length. I know the bear stories, and it's not part of my childhood. And I think that Beauty and the Beast retellings have been made and remade and written and rewritten for a long time. But I feel like being a White Shoes retelling could be interesting, so excited to read this one. And the last book I showed in the video is Ladies in Hating by Alexandra Vasti. So in this one you follow, it's a historical romance. So in this one you follow two women authors. You follow Lady Georgiana Cleave, and you also follow Lady Darling, which is a pen name. But the thing is, these two authors are quite in a competition because they both write the same genre, like gothic novels. I don't know if there's any romance in their novels, but I read a few of the first pages in the store, and it's like very, there's a lot of coincidence where one woman writes a story, but the other woman also wrote this type of story, like with almost the exact same title. So it feels like they are copying each other without knowing each other. So I know that Lady Georgiana is quite pissed that Lady Darling keeps writing stories because she's stealing her ideas, even though that's not the case. But yeah, I'm excited to read this one. And now for the books I didn't show you. During the day of my birthday, I was with one of my closest friends. We did like a girls' weekend in London, so I didn't want to film. Actually, she doesn't even know that I have a channel, so yeah. But during that day we did charity shops, and on the first shop, I'm gonna take the books. On the first shop we both found a book. We were quite excited. Like, she was reading a book from a book club she's part of, and she found it, and I found a book I almost bought during my last trip in July. I almost bought it full price, but I found it for £3, so I was quite excited. And it's Traitor's Legacy by S.J. Paris. So this one is kind of like a murder mystery set in a historical setting, but it's linked also with like Queen Elizabeth, because it's taking place in London in 1598. So in this story, a young heiress is found murdered in the theatre, and I think it's like the Globe Theatre from Shakespeare. So the spy master of the Queen, Robert Cecil, calls an agent, Sophia the Wolf, and yeah, it's a murder mystery set in one of my favorite times in history in England, so I'm quite excited about this. The next one I found for £2.50 is The Witcherlies by Annalise Avery. So again, kind of the same with like a Thorn season. Aurelia is entering her debutant season as a witch, and so there's a lot of balls and trials and finding the perfect match to tether a magic to. So in this world they have to find a match, otherwise they lose their magic if they don't find a match. So it's a much more higher stakes than just finding a husband. You need to find somebody compatible with your powers. And at some point, Aurelia arch nemesis Jules offers his help, and he may be her only hope. And so could be fun. I think again this one is a pro YA because she's entering a debutant season and they are most of the time 16 to 18. So yeah, we'll see about this one. And then I think the seller, when I bought the next book, would have wanted to sell this book like for a much higher price, but it was too late. I already bought it. I already paid for it, because I found this exclusive signed edition of Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong for £2. So even if she had asked for more, I would have paid more, but it was too late. I already bought it. I know, again, this one, I tried to read it and didn't really like it, or again, because it was on my tablet, like I said, when it's much denser fantasy, I need a much more, the signature, I focus much better when it's physical reading. And I know in this book, people can go from their minds to other people's minds, so they can go in the bodies of other people, and it's also like, again, a type of competition. And it's inspired by Shakespeare, Antony and Cleopatra, and you follow Kala, who has killed her parents a few years ago because they were like tyrants, and she wanted to free her country from them, but the only person she has to kill from her family to free completely the country is her uncle, and she knows that if she enters the competition and wins, the uncle will like come and congratulate the winner. So now she wants to win the competition to kill him during during the congratulation. And you also follow Anton, who's like her childhood best friend and also lovers, which is weird to say when they are children, they're not lovers, but you get it. And he wants to protect her, and he wants to save her, and he knows that the only way to do that is to also enter the competition. So quite excited to read this one, and again, I found it for £2 for such a nice edition. I was really happy on that day. I don't really have a lot of luck when I go charity shopping, but on this day, like, the charity shop's gods, or like the bookshop the bookshop entities were like, it's your birthday, we're gonna give you all the books for very cheap. And then the last hardback I have to show you, I found it in TK Maxx, which in America is TJ Maxx. I found it for £2. I don't know why it was so reduced, and it's a long song. And it's a love song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. She is the author of 7 Days in June. I didn't read this book because I wasn't that interested in the story and the storyline, but I found this one for £2, and again I was like, what? Like, I have almost nothing to lose by buying this book and trying to read this one. And I know in this one you follow Ricky Wilde, and she's part of a very rich family, and she's quite artistic. But she wants to have some type of freedom, so she decides to go to New York, in Harlem. She's from Atlanta originally, so she has the opportunity to go to have a place in Harlem, and she's like, yeah, I'll take it. And at some point she meets somebody, and he rocks her world of balance in the most unexpected way. So yeah, I know it's quite different from what I normally read, but I know I also should read more diversely in terms of authors or just genres. So that's a good book to start. And then another book I also found very cheap in TK Maxx is Nora Goes Off Script. I found it for £1.60. So for two of those books I found I paid £3.60. So yeah. This one is a little more beat up. So in this one you follow Nora, and after her divorce she decides to write a script about her story and her life, and then the script is picked up, so they decide to film the film. They decide to film the film in her house, and so the main character, like the main guy of the film, is living now at her house, and it's gonna be a romance between the two of them. The next book is the book I'm currently reading. Like, I'm not 2/3, but almost. And it's Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Krempholz. I'm sorry about the sun, I'm trying to... yeah. In this one you follow Violet, and she was like the witch of the bad guy in this town who ruled for a long time, but now he's dead, and she's like, what do I do now? And the person who killed the bad guy said to Violet to be good, and so now she tries to be good. She was groomed from a young age, and that she's not bad, like in the core, that's not in her to be bad. She was just brought up that way. And so now she has decided to settle in the town that the bad guy actually is really called bad guy. Like, his name was Guy, and in this story there's also another guy. So there's the bad guy and there's the good guy. To differentiate. So the bad guy was really brutal, and he made her kill a lot of people with her powers, and she has like nature and flower powers, so it was quite easy for her to kill people. And again, it was not by choice, she was brought up that way. But now she decided to settle in this town and to open a florist shop, and she is gonna have a romance with her landlord. But yeah, at the moment where I'm at, there's like quite a few threats in this town since the death of the bad guy, and she tries to help, but she also never told anybody that she was also a very bad witch and that she hurt a lot of people. But yeah, I will do also a review like with the Rings of Fate when I finish this book, so you can expect that. And the last book I have, without the sun blinding me, is Homebound by Meredith Trapp. To be honest, I could have bought a lot more, like cowboy and rancher romance, but I'm kind of tired of them. It's kind of the same with like mafia romances a few years ago. I read so much and so many of them, but now I'm like, how original can you be? I feel like some subjects and some genre or subgenres are really like done. And I kind of feel this way with cowboy romance. But in this one, she is the cowboy, a cowgirl, and she does a lot of rodeo, and it's kind of second chance romance, or at least they reconnect because Wyatt left 3 years ago to play hockey, but he never gave any news to Dakota, and now he is back with her daughter, and so they're gonna reconnect, and also I hope he will grovel, but we will see about that. But yeah, there was 17 books, to be honest. Quite a nice number, especially since I already read 2 of them, reading a 3rd one. So yeah, that's what I have to say. That's the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!